Yes, just like a prism splits white light into rainbows. Same way, if you have a color wheel, let's say, or I mean, Isaac Newton actually tried to combine those rainbows again, and they combine into white light again. But you could demonstrate that's a difficult thing that you have to do in a lab, very meticulously to try and reproduce this experiment. But one thing you can do easily, and kids like to do, is spin wheels. And if you rainbow colors, you spin them, it gives off white. So what is the lesson of that? Each color represents the gifts that we have in a church. Well, let's say in a church, that's one. Or before church, let's talk about a sports team or a chorus. Each person has to sing their notes, their part well, so that the chorus can sound well. Same with the sports team. Each person has to do their part just right for what they're made for, so that the team can do the best it can. And and in church too. Now we get to church. Everyone, you need people with different gifts, and together, if they all work well together, they will shine God's light.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Christ and Coffee podcast. Today, we're exploring the fascinating intersection between faith, science, and life. Today, we're going to be jumping into the lives of science's two greatest minds, Michael Faraday and James Maxwell. When we think of science and faith, we often think about conflict, but the stories of these two giants tell a very different tale, one of harmony, awe, and deep devotion. Faraday was the brilliant mind behind the electric motor. Maxwell, the mathematical genius who unified electricity, magnetism, and light, were not just pioneers of physics, they were deeply committed Christians, and they saw their scientific work and discoveries as a form of worship. In today's episode, we welcome experts Suzanne Shera to uncover how the personal faith of these two giants of science directly influenced their groundbreaking discoveries. We also learn about her book, Lightlab, Lessons for Kids to Explore the Nature of Light and to Know Jesus. But before we begin, I want to read our verse of the week, which comes from Matthew chapter 4, verse 16. The people living in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of the shadow of death, a light has dawned. With that said, please grab a cup of coffee and enjoy this Christ-centered conversation. All right, Suzanne, welcome to the Christ and Coffee podcast. How are you doing today?
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon. I'm in Pennsylvania now, but you're in California. It's almost afternoon there.
Exactly. It's always fun to do the time schedule with people from different time zones. I ask this question to all our guests. How do you normally drink your coffee, if you drink coffee?
It varies, actually. It depends. If I'm having a dessert, like baklava, I have it black. The coffee's black. But if it's my morning coffee with nothing, I like a little bit of milk and a dash of sugar.
All right.
And essential oil. I put some clove in there, too.
What does the clove do?
It gives it flavor, and it's good for your system.
Wonderful, wonderful. And what is your background? What do you do for work?
Right now I'm teaching. I've been teaching for a while, and I teach physics mainly right now. I'm working part-time where I teach at a hybrid homeschool. They meet twice a week, and their tutors just teach them different subjects, and then they do the rest at home, the 3 days at home.
Wonderful, wonderful. And part of your physics journey led you to learn a lot about the topic at hand, which is Michael Faraday and James Clerk Maxwell. How did you get involved with their biography, their influence? Like what made you interested to study them?
Well, when I was in college, majoring in physics, of course, we learned about Faraday's discoveries and Maxwell too. They both have done a tremendous work in the field. Well, the one thing I didn't know about them at the time is that they were devout Christians, and I was agnostic in college, struggling with my faith, not thinking that you can't enjoy science and pursue God at the same time. Later on in my life, maybe 20 years it's been now that I've wanted to teach about light because I studied light as my focus in physics. When I was teaching about light with a Christian perspective, I thought it was like a calling to me to run activities with light, which is lots of fun for children, and also combine them with Bible studies on God as light. And as I was looking into the topics, I ran into Faraday and Maxwell and learned wonderful things about them, that they were both devout Christians. So that was very exciting. And as I keep researching them, I talk about them all the time, and I write about them too. And I also make my students read a book on Michael Faraday, like this one. They're ninth
Uh huh.
graders. We do introduction to physics. So I've been having them read this book along with with their textbook, so they know about his childhood and how he grew up in a Christian home, and he stayed in the walk, and he applied his Christian faith while he was working at the
That's
Royal
great.
Institute.
So just to like give us a summary, what is their contribution to science? These two individuals, like what did they actually do or
But
discover?
Michael Faraday, when he started involved in science, he started chemistry. Chemistry was big at the time, but he always had interest in electricity. So he'd do all these random experiments when he was young,
So
and
what time period are we talking about? About
1700s
1700s. Okay.
into mid 1800s. Yeah, he was born late 1700. I think 1791. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. But and then his career was advanced in mid 1800s. Yeah, I don't remember his date. I haven't been studying him particularly lately. I've been focused on Maxwell for in the past year. So
Okay.
yeah, 1791 actually. I looked, so I was right. 1791, and he passed away 1869.
Okay. So they're like the fathers of electromagnetism, right? And
Yeah, he
how
discovered the engine, electric motor, the engine. Yeah.
so what is that like what so that discovery led to what other inventions? Just to kind of put a
First
I
the
don't think we're
engine,
able to.
the turbines, and all that. Yeah, it's pretty elaborate. The turbines, how we have generators. So basically, people knew that electricity caused magnets to move, but they didn't know how to let electric flow happen from magnets. So he's the one who discovered that a moving magnet can also create electricity in a circuit. So he did the other way around, and he was called the greatest experimentalist. He didn't have any math to back it up, but this is where Maxwell came. Maxwell was 40 years younger than Faraday, um, and he really admired Faraday's work. And when he studied the work that Faraday had done, Maxwell was very advanced in mathematics, so he applied mathematics to Faraday's discoveries, which made it more applicable. And he did even more. One thing that Maxwell did about is that he confirmed Faraday had predicted that light is electromagnetic in nature, but he couldn't back it up. Maxwell, when he was developing the equations, he's mostly known for those equations, Maxwell equations, where he relates electricity with magnetism. One of those equations, it turned out that the speed of that energy it has to be that speed of light. So, which produced a wonderful revolutionary discovery because they it just opened up the field to electromagnetic radiation beyond the visible as well, which it got all of yeah. So first Faraday's prediction that light is electromagnetic was confirmed by Maxwell's development of the equations. And then they both had a feeling that there's more than the visible, like infrared, ultraviolet, and beyond those. But they, of course, they didn't really get to test those, but others did. Soon after Maxwell, many others proved that there's other radiations that also fit in the electromagnetic equations that Maxwell had developed. That's hence we have modern physics technology, modern technology from all
Amazing.
that.
So Faraday was the kind of the inventor, like experiment, and then Maxwell came in with the math to kind of back it up and prove it.
Yes, yes.
Great, great. And like what, like this is like a dumb question, but what exactly do you mean when light is magnetic? Because isn't light like a dual particle? Like it could be a wave, it could be a particle.
Yeah,
Is that what this means, or does this mean something else?
it actually combined that concept where, I mean, think about electricity produces light, right? When you have an electric circuit, it can activate to producing light. And the reason for that is when the electrons inside an atom get excited, they change levels. First, they jump up, but of course, they don't stay out there very long because they want to go back to their original state, their rest state. As they come back, they release energy, and that energy released is a form of light. And depending on the amount of the energy, that light will have a, uh, a range of energies. And light is energy itself that is related to a certain wavelength that we see or frequency. But there's other energies out there that are emitted by electrons, basically, inside an atom, moving around and releasing energy. Light is just basically a form of energy that we as people can see. But there is the other ones, you want me to name them? Like
Oh, like the
beyond red,
unseen.
there's
Yeah, yeah.
infrared, microwave, radio, and then beyond the violet, below the violet, ultraviolet, X-rays, gamma rays, and they
That's wonderful.
vary in energies. It depends on the particles that are emitting them.
Like their discoveries have led to like everything we have with electricity, right? Like I don't think we're quite aware of. So they set up modern physics. They set up just the fact that we could have electric cars, what we're doing right now over the computers and the internet. It's all because of their discoveries, pretty much.
Yeah, and I mean Einstein himself swears by the both of them, and he said it in somewhere. I didn't stand on the shoulders of Newton, but I stood on the shoulders of Maxwell. He would not have discovered what he did about relativity if it weren't for Maxwell's equations.
Amazing. So the EM, the speed of light, energy, it's built on Maxwell specifically.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. That's exciting because I think with
What happened after Maxwell and between Maxwell and Einstein, a lot of other discoveries that happened based on, due to the equations he developed, and Einstein just reaped the benefits.
yeah, that's wonderful. And let's go back to their upbringing. So Michael Faraday was a devout Christian as well, right? And was he part of this small group called the Sandemanians? Is that accurate? Like
Yeah.
what's this Christian denomination like?
I'm plan to look into it more. From what I've read, they're devout Christians. There was a small group of them. They were known for washing each other's feet. I don't think they had preachers that were paid, but they all took turns to preach. And yeah, that's what I know. I think it was an offshoot of a church in England. I don't remember exactly, but it's on my project to really look into the church's history. It didn't last very long, but from my readings about him, they believed as God is creator, Christ being the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and and applying your Christian principles of humility. Um, he was really humble. Like Michael Faraday's character was very humble.
Is it true that
And
he turned down? Is it true that he turned down being a knight?
yeah, and he once he turned down an invitation from the Queen to visit because it was Sunday. But one time, I think in one of the books, there's once where he accepted something that be on Sunday, and he had to be the church had to um, I think discipline him for that. Like he couldn't
Okay,
be
they're
an elder.
like,
He could not be an elder for a while
oh, because
because
he did
he
something on the Sabbath.
gave up Sunday. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so they were like really like thorough. Was he always? Did he grow up Christian home like Maxwell, or did he have like a conversion later in life? Or
What I know, yes, yes. From what I know, yes. And his parents always spoke faith in the house with them
yeah,
and taught them to do the right thing according to God's ways.
yeah. So did they were they vocal about the connection between science and faith? Because you were sharing how
Yeah,
you kind of had that
yeah.
dichotomy as a student, but how did they approach it?
Okay, I have a couple like quotations that I use about Faraday, where he says, "The book of nature, which we have to read, is written by the finger of God." That's a famous quotation of him. And another one, not this. It just says, "I shall be with Christ, and that is enough." So that's about Faraday. He wasn't a very verbal person, Faraday, but Maxwell was. Maxwell has a lot of quotations. Yeah, Maxwell was. See, Faraday did not have a deep education because they were poor. So he learned what he learned as a bookbinder. He was an apprentice. That's how he learned what he knew. His mathematics was very weak, um, and um, and also he wasn't really like a learned person
That's even more
compared to.
remarkable. He just like went off hunches and like, but really abstract ones to pull off what he did. It's quite
Yeah,
remarkable.
yeah.
Um, so and then like what are your thoughts? Do you think they felt like their discoveries were calling from God? Do you feel like it was part of just being a Christian to discover the nature of how things are really are? What any insights on their philosophy of their work?
Yeah, I think they like. Yeah, let me read one I have here. One of Maxwell, where he says, I think that men of science, as well as other men, need to learn from Christ. I think that Christians whose minds are scientific are bound to study science, that this view of the glory of God may be as extensive as their being is capable of. So he encourages, Christians to study science because it only shows them the glory of God.
Yeah, no, it's a cool way to know that like every sort of scientific discovery is under the umbrella of theology, and especially as they're pushing the boundaries of new discoveries, it's quite remarkable. Um,
Yeah.
and they did they was Maxwell the scholar, or they both taught at schools, or who they?
Um, Faraday was mainly experimentalist. He did get asked to do lectures at the Royal Institute on Friday afternoons, where he would demonstrate a lot of his discoveries. He did a lot of chemistry and many things, and he wrote a book on the candle, the science of the candle, for example. So he would do shows on that. Maxwell, on the other hand, he had advanced university studies, so he did get professorship jobs, and he was a professor. Although he was in his own world a lot, like he'd go off, start teaching on a subject, and he like have an aha moment, and he's just take off on a tangent,
Yeah, no,
not
he had to have
finish
another.
his teaching. Yeah, but I just read about that, and then but the saying is that a few students who would hang out after class, as he's off on his tangent, they learn so much hanging out with him for an hour or two,
That's
trying
amazing.
to wrestle with the problem.
And
So he
and
did teach.
Where he taught in London, at King's, or was that
Cambridge.
Cambridge? Okay.
He taught various places. He taught at University of Aberdeen. That was his first job where he met his wife. And then he taught in Cambridge, the King's College, I believe. King's College in Cambridge. That
Great.
was
And
the
did you,
branch.
yeah, I was just about to ask. I know you just came back from a trip. Did you visit their homes and where they lectured? What was that like?
Yeah,
Any insights
I was
of their?
thinking. Mhm. Faraday, I have been following him and looking him up a long time ago. It's only recently that I'm really reading about Maxwell and writing about him. So I we went to Edinburgh. Um, just, Actually, we landed there, but then we stayed somewhere in between Edinburgh and Glenlair. Um, Glenlair was their summer home, Maxwell's summer home, and Edinburgh was where he was born and lived until 2 years old, and then back there at 10 to attend academy there. So Glenlair itself is a magnificent estate with all kinds of natural resources, including a river and trees and hills. It's a beautiful place. It's it got his relatives inherited that land for a while, but then afterwards there's another family that purchased it, and they have dedicated one of the rooms as a museum for Maxwell. So we went and visited that estate. Of course, Scotland is beautiful, like the green rolling hills with white sheep and the pink flowers. It's just beautiful to keep gazing at it. So we saw that place, and then we went to Edinburgh, where his birthplace was turned into a museum. So I had arranged an appointment to be guided. So you had to do that. They weren't open all the time, so I had to arrange an appointment. So we did that, and ended up there were 10 of us in the group. Eventually, it grew. It started with 2, and then it grew to 10. And it was his house, and they had changed that to a museum where all his discoveries, which are numerous discoveries. I don't know if you want to know that at some point, but
Yeah, yeah. Let's hear the magnitude of how many things that they
oh wow,
discovered.
yeah. Well, ever since he was a kid, it was known that he was extremely curious. He wanted to know how everything was made. Like, how's the doorbell made? He would ring it and then figure out how it's connected and what's making it ring. Like, how did the rivers flow, the energy, how do they like speed up and all this stuff. He was just very curious about all of that. And it was known when he was only 2 or 3 that he was able to take a mirror and direct the sunlight into the house, like straight through the window of the house. It's only 2 or 3. Look at that. So he, see, what was one of the first things he's done? Oh, he did, he was, of course, really good in math. So he published a paper at 14 about drawing ovals, egg-shaped, not just ovals, but egg-shaped with a lot of precision. So that's what he's known for at 14, to write a
Yeah, no
paper.
big deal. I'm just 14 years old. I'm just inventing new math. No problem.
Yeah, and he won some awards. He didn't win a lot of awards because he was always like he wasn't as meticulous turning in assignments or even studying. So whatever he won is just
He really
just
didn't
without
care.
study.
That's amazing. Like yeah.
He didn't kind of care, but he had so busy with other thoughts and inventions that he didn't. He spent time on those things. So one thing he's okay. Let me see which one. The color. He did a lot with colors. He would have a color wheel, and he wanted to know how colors happen. And he so he would just had a color wheel with three primary colors. By that time, people were that had, pretty much discovered that there's three primary colors are red, blue, green. And then they would that those are the colors. So he constructed one, and he figured out the various proportions of using red, blue, green in order to produce the different hues, the millions of hues, the thousands of hues. He probably did just thousands of hues, but we know that we can combine red, blue, green in different proportions and obtain millions of
Wow. So
hues.
he was aware
He
of the
was
color
he
wheel.
did a lot of work on color wheels, and he started that as a young age. And as he got older, he was credited to take the first colored photo.
The first colored
Um,
photo.
yeah, so that's what he
Ca-
did. He loved shapes and colors. Yeah. Um,
Amazing. Capturing
and
light
then
literally with, yeah.
yeah, and then he did a lot of work on heat, thermodynamics. There's a whole theory called after him, Maxwell Boltzmann, where he determined the mathematical distribution of molecules based on temperature. That's one thing, and he did work in astronomy. Like he's the one who was able to demonstrate that the rings around Saturn, people
Oh,
knew
wow.
there were rings, that they're not solid, that they're particles. You know. So he was able to demonstrate that mathematically, and so those are a few of other things: heat, astronomy, color, and he would always experiment in his attic. Like he left jelly, glass, and he did a lot on optics too. He was fortunate to have an entourage of scientists. Like his parents knew this scientist, that scientist, and they would take him to the Edinburgh Royal Society meetings. So he learned a lot at a young age,
Amazing.
and eventually the electromagnetic equations. He developed those as well, which is what he's known for those mainly.
Uh, Amazing. And I love this concept of how the parents cultivated his childlike curiosity and the scientific
Yes.
methods and the methodologies. And that's kind of the stuff you're passionate about too. I mean, you have a book called Lightlab, right? Where
Yeah.
you have these activities. How did that come to be? And it's specifically targeted towards right before middle school, right? The 8 to 11 age
Yeah, yeah.
range.
Some people just ask me to teach their middle schoolers light lab, but so yeah, I've targeted from 8 to 12. There is a set of lessons on light, where they learn about a concept on light and then do activities and then learn about God as light. I mean, there's over 200 references about God being light in the Bible, so not difficult to combine them to find lessons. So the kids can just be blessed after they've played and intellectually nourished. They can sit down and do Bible studies. So that's 12 of them.
Can you
I've
give an
been
example
writing.
of one?
Uh, so the first is creation with light sources. So I talk about our light sources, and then they play with electricity because electric bulbs are man-made light sources. So that's the experiment they do. And for Bible study, we talk about God as being light and why is there's no darkness in God. So we connect that biblically. And then we do I talk to them about the birth of Christ, the light of the world, how the birth was predicted. And then the shepherds followed the star. That's how I combine that lesson. And then that's lesson one. I jump to lesson 5. It's on reflection. They play with mirrors, and learn about reflection. And then the Bible study revolves around James. You look at the mirror, you don't forget who you are. Same way you look at the Bible, it tells you how you are and how you need to change. Like the mirror tells you, you need to fix your hair, wash your face, and the Bible tells you how to live your life according to God. So it's like a mirror. In James it says that. So that it revolves around that. And let's see. I do have a lesson on the rainbows, creating rainbows. And one, if you create rainbows, like let's say you have a color wheel with the rainbow colors and you spin it, it gives off light. Did you know
Wow.
that?
Okay. It makes sense, but
Just
yeah,
like
but
the
no, I
prism.
did not know that.
Yeah, it's just like the prism splits white light into rainbows. Same way, if you have a color wheel, let's say, or I mean, Isaac Newton actually tried to combine those rainbows again, and they combine into white light again. But you could demonstrate that's a difficult thing that you have to do in a lab. Very meticulously to try and reproduce this experiment. But one thing you can do easily, and kids like to do, is spin wheels. And if you rainbow colors, you spin them, it gives off white. So what is the lesson of that? Each color represents the gifts that we have in a church. Well, let's say in a church, that's one. Or before church, let's talk about a sports team or a chorus. Each person has to sing their notes, their part well, so that the chorus can sound well. Same with the sports team. Each person has to do their part just right for what they're made for, so that the team can do the best it can. And and in church too. And then we get to church. Everyone, you need people with different gifts, and together, if they all work well together, they will shine God's light.
That's really cool.
So that's the lesson. Yeah.
That's
So that's
wonderful.
I
Yeah, I
mentioned
mean,
the example.
yeah, those are great examples. Those are things I want to do, maybe for kids sermons or with my kids or VBS, or just at home or with the class, Sunday school class. Because yeah, you're right. It's so foundational. Light is all throughout Scripture. The Scriptures start with "Let there be light," and it ends with just being in the presence of light. It's really
Yeah.
from beginning to end. One of my favorite verses in Scripture. I used to be very shy as a kid, and then in high
Mm.
school, I used to just say Psalm 27, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Who shall I fear?" And that really helped me, and like it made me be like, why should I be scared about anything? The Lord is light.
Yeah.
I'm not in darkness. He's with me. He's my salvation. Um, yeah, actually, my 5-year old was
27,
scared
right?
the other day, and I just said, just say this out loud like a prayer, and he said, "Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm no longer scared of the dark right now." He just said it, and then he went to sleep. It was really like powerful moment, just saying that word out loud. But yeah, I love the theology of light. Christ is the light of the world, like you said. That there's so many aspects. Like the first act of creation, besides God saying, "Let there be light," He separates the light from the darkness, and yeah, it's such a profound theological concept, and we're still learning more and more about light itself, right? And I'm excited to see like what AI is going to help us discover with the new physics coming up too. But it's all built upon these great giants of the field, and it's cool to know many of them had such a devout connection with the divine, and then they saw like their scientific discovery as a theology of discovering more and more about God's beautiful creation and the depths of it. So it's
Mm-hmm.
really cool that you're inspiring so many young people at an early age to appreciate science, and kind of destroy that stigma right away that you have to pick science over faith. No, it's connected. Don't make this false dichotomy. So that's wonderful work. Yeah, one final question. What would be your message to the church today?
I guess my message would be that they invest in the youth, all ages, because we need to. It's important that they invest in the issue, in their youth, and um, meaning have leaders who know theology, who can talk to youth, and just have them talk and discuss things a lot. Like I remember you used to do something with my son, the theology and philosophy. Like he really enjoyed that. So I think just investing in youth is very important. Just to just find ways to continue that. It's really
Yeah,
cool. Like in Maxwell's case, well, both Faraday and Maxwell, they needed people beyond their family to mentor them, to shape them. Um, And they were both fortunate to have that.
That's amazing.
So,
Well said.
and they grew into pretty balanced people. They were very intelligent, and sometimes very intelligent people can get in trouble because they don't know their way in life as well. They don't
Yeah.
have the social skills that much always. But if they're mentored and if they're covered by the Word of God, they will be blessed. They were both content men, from what I know. They're one of those two people um, who no one says anything bad about. In their records, there's nothing bad, nothing immoral. They were well liked in their environment. They didn't hurt people. Um, and they were devout. They were devoted husbands. So there's a lot about their lives that to
Yeah,
glean from.
they weren't off the rail mad scientists. They were really anchored, grounded, and they were supported in
Yeah,
the family, and they were able to have families. That's a really powerful testimony as
and
well.
that's because they were nurtured by family first, and then others as well.
That's well
So
well
that's
said.
what I would like the church to be intentional about mentoring the youth, spend time talking to them, and developing programs, ways for them to talk. So it's especially, of course, each generation gets more complicated these days. It's a very complicated generation. So the more adults are around the youth, the better off they are. Of course, hopefully, adults with good influences,
Yeah,
godly
yeah.
influences. Only godly influences are good ones, right?
Yeah, that's wonderful. And then you never know, you could be helping a 14-year-old make a scientific mathematical breakthrough that gives him the trajectory to create electromagnetism equations to set up Einstein for uh, the current physics we currently have. It's quite remarkable, the chain reaction of all that. And I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is such an important thing to teach this stuff as quick as possible. Never neglect the youth. Sometimes we just think they don't know what to do or they can't ask the right questions. But the reality is, yeah, God forbid, like a Faraday wasn't nurtured. There probably are Faradays right now with a genius, but they don't have that support or the mentor figure or the resources to do that. So yeah, it's great for the church to step up, for communities to step up and cultivate great minds for great discoveries of God's beautiful creation.
yeah, and then whatever they're doing, ask yourself a question. One would ask, I mean, it's important to ask yourself a question: where's God in this? Like always, be mindful of that question. Every choices they make, what's in there for God? What's in this for God? I don't know if I'm asking it the right way, but where's God in this? To always be mindful that we are His servants, and we just need to be obedient to
Yeah,
Him, and
amen to that.
the choices we make to be honoring Him.
Thank you so much, Suzanne, for your time, and thank you everyone for tuning in to the end of the Christ and Coffee podcast. Check it out; it's Lightlab by Suzanne Shera, and thank you for tuning in to the end of this program. Stay caffeinated, my friends. God bless you, and we'll see you next week. Take care.